up on its own. Hi, everybody. Today we're in the last lesson in Joel. Joel is only 3 chapters, and we're in chapter 3 and verse 13, and it says this. It says it's kind of about judgment, the last judgment. It says, "Swing the sickles, for the harvest is ripe. Come tread the grapes, for the winepress is full. The storage vats are overflowing with the wickedness of these people." And that's a familiar theme. Actually, it's one Jesus picks up in. It talks about the parable of the seed in Mark 4:26 through 28. And in all these parables, it's God who comes in the final day and makes a judgment. Sometimes Jesus talks about the goats and the sheep and how God will separate those in the final day. So, also Jesus tells a parable. It's one of my favorites, and it's one that I remind myself of quite often, and that's the parable of the farmer who plants wheat in his field, and then someone comes along, and Jesus says later it's the devil, comes along and plants weeds amongst the wheat. And his workers, when they see all this weed, want to go in and pull out the weed. And Jesus says, in the parable, he says, "No, don't pull out the wheat or the weeds, because you'll also pull out the weeds." And one of the things we need to remember as Christians is that judgment is God's judgment. It's not ours. It's not our job to sit around and judge people. Now, some Christians say, well, I need to have discernment. That's a way for them to say, well, it's okay for me to judge because I'm discerning. And, you do need to be discerning. But judging is God's business, not yours, not mine. I had a high school kid come, and he wasn't in our church, and he says, "Well, you're a pastor." He says, "What do you think about?" And then all the hot button topics, homosexuality, abortion, transvestites. I mean, he had a whole list of things that I was supposed to make a judgment over, and I told him this parable about the weeds and the wheat. And I said, it's not our job to judge people. That's God's job, and he'll do that in the last day. Our job is to tell them about the good news, about the love of God in Christ Jesus, and encourage people to believe. And, that is true. And when you let go of having to judge people one way or the other, and decide, what's Christian and what isn't, it really becomes much more relaxing for you, because when you judge someone else, you're really playing God. And we're real uncomfortable with that because we know we aren't God while we're playing God. And so it makes us nervous. Whenever you're nervous or anxious about something, it's because you're playing God and you are thinking that it's all about you instead of about God. And placing things in God's hands helps us to relax, because now we're in the right position, which is the non-God position, the human position. So I'd leave the judgment to God always, and then you can relax a little bit and not have to worry so much about other people and their judgment. And the other part about that is, whenever we judge other people, my mom used to say there's 3 fingers pointing back at you when you point a finger at somebody else. But when you judge someone else, you are, in effect, cooking the books in your direction. You're saying, well, my stuff isn't so bad, but look at this person over here. They're pretty bad. And that is, that's just, you're just making you're in the bookkeeping part, you're upping your part, and you're putting other people's bookkeeping down, and you're making that judgment. It's never a good idea. So, it's fun to judge, I know, but our job isn't to judge. Our job is to love and to care for other people, and to show God's grace and love, and to tell people what God has done for us in Christ Jesus. Well, I hope you have a good week. You probably won't be hearing from me tomorrow or Friday, or Wednesday or Thursday. You probably I'll have something to say on Wednesday and maybe throughout the weekend a little bit. I hope you have a great day. I want to let you know that I am going to be on vacation after this week for 2 weeks, so I don't know how much I'll be doing then. And then after that, I'll pick up again, and I'll let you know what we're doing. God bless.